Hello there, and welcome to Critical Wade Theory. And this is another edition of Wade's Spooky Fun Time Stories, or whatever you would want to call them. And the story is called The Flames That Whisper. So, oddly enough, this one kind of merits an introduction because more than ever, I am fully aware that some people are not aware of when things are parody or sarcastic or intended to be, spoofing something or any number of things like that. People sometimes it just goes right over their heads, no matter how obvious it should be. The magical special era that we're living in makes it abundantly clear that I need to spell that out. And this story is really me parodying a lot of the talking points right now that I'm seeing about how the California fires must be sort of a magical, God ordained vengeance against the state of California, a liberal bastion, as it might be called by some. So, this story is really kind of a parody of that. It's sort of like me putting myself into their brains and seeing what sort of explanations for a natural disaster they might actually cook up in their little fever dreams. So don't take the story that seriously. It's not 100% meant to be a funny story either. It's you know I'm kind of spoiling the story just by saying this, but again, that's the era that we live in. I'm more aware of this than ever before. So, all right. As I delve into these dark reflections of the world we live in, keep in mind that this podcast will thrive because of listeners. And, feel free to share this or what have you, like it, review it. If you see it on YouTube, you can subscribe and possibly on some other places. So go ahead and do that. But anyway, in this episode, we're going to explore the eerie intersection of the supernatural, the unexplained, and the shadows cast by our own fears. I'm your host, Wade, if you didn't gather that already. And tonight we delve into a story that begins with a fire, but ends with far more disturbing questions. Spooky. Is it possible for something as seemingly natural as a wildfire to carry a darker, more sinister presence? Oh, our guest, Graham, spoke with several outlets about a recent devastating blaze. His answers left us wondering what really happened, and could forces beyond our understanding be at play? Let's start with a question Graham was asked during one of his interviews. I was watching Real American News today, the reporter began, and they were talking about how this fire could be an art of Satan. It sounds like it's more than just a natural disaster. Is there any truth behind these things happening? Graham's reply was unsettling. There isn't much scientific evidence beyond what we've seen so far, he admitted. But then he paused, adding, it does seem pretty clear from all indications from meteorology data, heat maps showing where the hotspots occurred, that something very unusual happened. Something unusual. Hmm. The way he spoke, the way his words lingered, it was as though he was holding something back, almost as if he couldn't fully explain what had been unleashed. What's even more chilling is the atmosphere described by those who lived near the fire's epicenter. Witnesses reported not just the crackling of flames, but otherworldly sounds, low whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. A firefighter who worked on the front lines recalled feeling watched, even though he was surrounded only by smoke and ash. It wasn't just the heat, he said. It felt like the ground itself was alive. And what about the animals? Several locals reported seeing strange patterns in the behavior of birds and deer before the fire began, among other things. It was almost as if they knew something was coming, or something had arrived. Graham had more to say. When asked how people should respond during times like these, his advice was oddly foreboding. If you feel led to do something, anything, do it, he urged. Now is the time to act. Don't wait, because there are forces at work here, forces that thrive on hesitation. Forces that thrive on hesitation. Let that sink in for a moment. Then came the most haunting question of all. Is God judging Hollywood? The reporter referred to the string of tragedies and scandals that have plagued the entertainment industry in recent years: broken lives, strange accidents, and whispers of something darker lurking behind all that glitz and glamour. Graham didn't deny the possibility. Instead, he offered a cryptic answer: draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Simple words, but in this context, they feel less like comfort and more like a warning. Here's the thing: fires don't just consume, they reveal. They strip away the surface, leaving only the truth behind. And sometimes that truth is more than we can handle. So, as we close tonight's episode, I leave you with this. What if this fire wasn't just a disaster? What if it was a message? A message meant to be heard by those who dare to listen. And what if the whispers in the flames weren't merely echoes of the wind, but voices from something far more ancient, far more powerful? So until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, the darkest shadows often lie closest to the light. Spooky. Well, I guess that's the end of the story. And I just want to reiterate that this isn't intended to, badmouth people who are victimized by the fire, for lack of a better word. In fact, I have a cousin who lives in Los Angeles, and I know some other people who live in LA and other parts of California, possibly as well. So, this isn't meant to be insensitive to anyone who lives in the area or who was impacted by it. Like I said, it's something that actually could affect me too, and it's really just a matter of dumb luck that I wasn't born in California or a place that has regularly experienced natural disasters. Although a few years back, I think it was the year of 2018, there was a pretty large flood that actually impacted where I live, and actually a few people even died in that. So, you know, it's a little bit of a reminder that no matter where you live, a natural disaster can strike, and no, it's not always some dark and sinister force. I mean, it's just nature doing what nature does, for better or for worse. Well, quite often for worse. But it's just one of those things. What can you really do about it? You can try to prepare. You can try to pick up the pieces after a natural disaster happens, and obviously you should consider supporting recovery efforts and all that kind of stuff. So, on that note, hopefully this was a relatively um, fun parody. Although, again, I'm not sure to what extent it should be considered fun. It's a story that's really meant to sort of mock the apocalyptic view of natural disasters. So I kind of regret that I have to spell it out like that, but again, that's just the world we live in. It's a sad fact, but some people just don't know how to distinguish between sarcasm and parody and all that kind of stuff, all serious stuff. They don't know how to they don't know where the lines are drawn between fact and fiction either in a lot of cases. So, um, you know, that's really where we're at, and hopefully we can wake up from this bizarre fever dream that we're living in at some point and actually find a little strand of sanity, because you know what, that little strand, if you well, I don't know what metaphor I'm going for here, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. Have a good day.